All right, today I want to talk about the comfort of slavery, right? Now, first off, let me define slavery. I pulled it up here a few seconds ago. And when you look at the definition on Google, it says a slave, right? It says a person who is a person who is the legal property of another and is forced to obey them. Another definition says a person who works very hard without proper appreciation. One says a person who is excessively dependent upon or controlled by something. And then the last one says a device or part of one directly controlled by another. Now, today, for the sake of this conversation, when I talk about slavery, I'm not talking about the slavery of African Americans. I'm not talking about the slavery of other races throughout the history of the world. I'm talking about the enslavement of a society, right? Now, let's think about this for a second. Now, let's think about a child being born, right? So a child is born into this world, and just by default, this child comes into this world with an awareness that's on its highest of levels. You have to understand that this spirit that's inside this child just came from the source of sources. You know what I mean? So to be honest, it's at its highest level. It's only during the time of spending time in this world that this information is pretty much stripped from a child, right? So take a child from 0 to 5 years old. You have a baby growing to a toddler, and this child's mind is just all over the place, right? You see little boys that are on sand beaches, and they're building castles. You see little girls with imaginations that are all over the place, man, that are just unlimited, right? But what do we do after that? Around the age of 5 or 6, we'll put these children in an institution, and instantly their life is changed, right? So we put them in classrooms, we put them in desks, we tell them not to talk anymore, we tell them to raise their hands if they want to speak, we tell them to get in single file lines to go get their food a few times a day. And anytime this child voices something that's not in the itinerary, we pretty much say that child is out of line and being disrespectful, right? So this child goes through from kindergarten to 12 years old, going through the same thing every day, every year. Now, if you've read Outwitting the Devil, which I talk about this book all the time, you are familiar with Hypnotic Rhythm. And what Hypnotic Rhythm says that if a person does something over and over for a certain amount of time, it just becomes like their way of life. That's just who they are, right? So when you think about a child doing a certain thing for 12, 13 years of his life, it really, this mindset of operating in a certain way becomes just who they are, right? Now what the book also says is if a person just continues to do that, even after they're trapped in this mindset, if they continue to do that, then they reach a place of no return. In other words, if you vibrate on a certain frequency for so long, that's just who you are forever. There's no coming out of that, right? So we send a child to school for 12, 13 years, right? And they graduate high school. Now, at this point in their life, they have a choice to say, you know what? I've been conditioned to think a certain thing, but now I'm to a point where I'm free. I can leave the school system. I can find my way again. I can find my old self and live my life. But the thing we promote is a higher education, going to college or university or whatever, right? Now this is almost one of the most sadistic things when you think about it, right? We're being trained, we've already been trained for 12, 13 years. Now we're getting ready to go to this additional training to make us more of a robot to society, right? Now the crazy thing is that we pay for this. This is crazy because if you think about it, all over the world, people aren't paying for college. In a lot of countries, college is free because when you think about it, you're going to an institution to make the workforce a better place. Over here, we're actually paying several thousands of dollars to go to college. Now, that's almost like that's almost like a prisoner paying the guard to keep him in a cell. Or it's almost like someone on death row paying the guy that's giving the lethal injection to kill him. Because really all we're doing is paying for a slow death. And I'm talking about it, but I'm a victim of it at the same time. Because one of the worst decisions I think I've made at this point in my life, looking back on it, of course, is to spend X amount of dollars on getting an education, right? So at this point, we go to college, and this is where we begin to separate those that are more wiser and those that are going to be pretty much field workers, right? So again, this is where the initial what we call the golden handcuffs are placed on us. So as far as in the form of student loans, and then we get on these jobs, and it's almost like a competition amongst each other to see who's the best. It's all about who drives what car to the workplace. It's all about what house everybody lives in, and really what we're doing, we're being bottom feeders, and we're really just putting ourselves in a deeper trap, right? So then you look at it, right? You look at it, and we put all this time into a company, whether it's 5 years, whether it's 10 years, and then it's 20 years. In our minds, we think that this company has this loyalty to us, but really we're just a number. Really, we're just a slave, because when you look at it, it's simply a line in the sand between the haves and the have-nots. You can go so far up the corporate ladder, there's a hard line in the sand, and then there are the major decision makers, and a lot of people aren't understanding this, right? So we get to a certain point. We get to a certain point, and we say, you know what? Okay, I understand the game now. I'm 30 years old. I'm 35. I'm 40. I'm 45 years old, and I'm seeing the writing on the wall. I'm understanding that one, this company is giving me only a few days per year, to exercise vacation. One, right? There's only so much I can do. I have pretty much no control. It's pretty much like I'm under their reign nonstop, right? And you realize that what, I'm a slave, because at the end of the day, what you find out is what, I wake up every morning, I eat my breakfast, whatever. I go to this job. This job consumes the far majority of my time. By the time I get home, I don't have time to kiss the wife and pet the dog. I don't have time to read books to my son or daughter. And at the end of the day, you say, you know what? You say, I'm just a robot. Like I'm simply a slave. So what do you do, or what does the average person do once they come to this conclusion? They do absolutely nothing. And the reason is because it's easier to be a slave at that point than to come out of it. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like in the Bible when Moses went and freed the slaves, right? And they had all went to a certain point. And the next thing you know, everybody started complaining about, we're eating the same food every day, or all we have is water, and all, complaining about all this stuff. And they were saying, you know what? It was better back when we were slaves. At least we had protection. At least we had, guaranteed certain foods every day. We had the freshest of waters, right? See, what these people were, man, they were brainwashed. They came to the conclusion that it was more comfortable to be a slave than to come out and be free, right? So this is what we're facing on a regular basis, right? Now, this universe has a tendency, being made by the Most High, has a tendency to just balance itself at some point in time, right? And this is what I see when I look at coronavirus or this whole epidemic we're going through, right? I always say that all things work for the good. And if I'm going to believe that, I have to see that in everything. Even when things are unfavorable, on my part, I still have to look at it as all things are working for the good. And in my mind, I'm seeing this as just the universe correcting itself. If not correcting itself, at least exposing what it is, right? Because here we are, man. This is what bothers me, man, about businesses, about corporate America. You can have a company, billions of dollars, $1 billion company that are making this money off the sweat of employees that are making, minimum wage, you know, and as soon as there's one ripple in the road, then they're cutting heads. Billions of dollars in reserve and they're cutting heads. Like I can't even sleep good at night just thinking about that, man. And just thinking about that alone should be reason for us to see the world different. We have to see the world different. We have to understand that there's a system in place that's keeping us in a trance. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm not saying that everybody should go out and quit a job. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying at minimum, we have to look at this world different. We have to understand that we're in a mindset of slavery. And we have to understand that we have to be thinking different. For us to be leaning on a job so hard, guys, in 2020, after seeing this right here, to come out of this thing with the same mindset is almost crazy. It's almost crazy, right? So I just want to say, man, we have to come out of this thing, with a different mindset. You know what I'm saying? Now, the other day, or several weeks ago now, I had a chance to meet with one of my clients, right? A guy named Mike. I'm not going to tell the company, but he owns a parts distribution type company here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Now, the first time I met Mike was about 5 years ago. And Mike had just started this business. And I remember, getting him started. And Mike was doing about $60K per month. His business was doing about $60,000 per month. So I met with Mike a few months ago, and Mike's doing like $2.3 million a month now. And I'm just like, wow. So, we had like a little quarterly meeting, a lot of guys there in suits and all that stuff. So we're sitting around the table. And just to give you an idea of Mike, if you would have walked by this guy in Walmart, you would have no idea that the brother was a millionaire. You would have no idea. Jeans, old, Izod shirt, old baseball hat, boots, just a regular, solid guy. So, we're all sitting around the table. Everybody's in button downs or suit. Mike's sitting over there looking like he's headed to a T-ball game or something, right? And a few of the guys there are newer, and they're asking Mike, about the performance of his company. And as they're going around the circle, they're talking all this corporate jargon. They're talking about, well, the oil and gas market is doing this, and stocks are doing this, and blah, 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 right? So they go around this whole spiel for about 20 or 30 minutes. And the whole time I'm just looking at Mike, and I can tell that he's really not even interested in it, right? So it gets to me, and they ask me, what are my thoughts on the business? And I hear me being about 60, maybe 90 days away from leaving the workforce as a whole, man. My whole mindset is different. So what I said to Mike, man, I said, Mike, it's not too often that we get to sit in a room with a person like you. You know what I mean? I said, this is not something we get to experience every day. I said, and we can talk about your numbers, we can talk about, future performance and all this stuff. I said, but what I want to know is, how did you do it? And instantly, every head in there just turned back to Mike. Like this is what we really want to know. Like screw all the corporate BS. How did you do it? How did you go from being, a over-the-counter employee working for Napa for several years? I think you worked for Napa for 17 years, and all of a sudden just stepped out of this shell. And now here you are, a millionaire. I said, how did you do it? And it was almost like he was relieved to say, you know what? I'm glad somebody's really asking me something different for a change. And the first thing Mike said, he says, you have to become uncomfortable. You have to become uncomfortable. In other words, you have to understand that there's a system in place to keep everybody on the low end. You know what I'm saying? This world is built between haves and have-nots. And if you're going to progress, you have to understand first that there's a system in place. But I want to share with y'all what Mike told me, man. Mike told me this. He says, when I first said, you know what, I'm going to venture out and start my own business, he said, everybody said, okay, it's been done before. Like, you can look all over the place and you can see people with businesses just like yours. They said, just do what they've been doing. And Mike said he tried that, but it didn't work. He said, what I found out, and people were saying, don't reinvent the wheel. He said, but if you want to change your way of life, if you want to change your condition, he says, you're going to have to reinvent the wheel. In other words, he said, your brand, what makes you different is that gap in between the way everybody's always done it and the way you're going to do it. He said, so always go against the grain, man. Always do things different, right? And then he said this. He said, every single decision he makes is based on legacy. Now he talked about how when they have family function, man, he said his grandkids are sitting there arguing over who's going to be the CEO and who's going to be the CFO and all this stuff. In other words, he's put his family in an exceptional position. Half of his family is working the company, and he said every decision I make is not for myself. It's not even for this company. He said it's for the generations that I haven't even met yet. And he said, as soon as I started thinking like that, he said, everything changed. Everything changed because it completely stripped away that selfishness that was in me, right? And then last he said, man, make sure you keep things simple. Now, when I had a chance to go back to Mike's office, and this whole facility, man, I would say maybe 20,000, 25,000 square foot. Mike, who is the CEO of this whole operation, is in an office in the back that looks like a closet, right? He's working on a desk that looks like a desk that would belong to like a shop teacher in high school. It's just a ramped up wooden desk. And his office is tiny, right? And Mike said, just keep everything simple. He said, because what I've learned is trying to obtain 1,000,001 things coming up through the system will end up just being a golden handcuff. If you look out in the parking lot, Mike has his own parking spot, and he's driving, it's a brand new vehicle, but a Ford Explorer when he could easily be pushing a G-Wagon or easily be pushing a Lambo or something. So Mike said, keep it simple. And after that, you'll never have to worry about another thing, right? So the thing is, my question rather is, like, why aren't we stepping outside of this mindset? We're fully aware of what's going on. We're fully aware that this world is really not in our favor if we just play along with the system. I mean, there's no guarantee. There's a false sense of security. And I'm not saying we need to abandon the ways of this world, but we have to start thinking different. We have to start, we have to go back. I mean, think back before the system was the way it is now. We're trying to come up to a system, get educations on whatever level, and dive into this system and retire at 75. I don't care how you look at it. This is not normal. This is not normal. And I'm telling you, as soon as man makes a step to come out of this, all of this awareness comes about him. There are some people, man, that are shaking in their boots daily, scared to go to work, scared to fire their computer up the next day because they're worried that their job is going to say, you know what, today's your last day. Not only are we going to lay you off, it could even be worse on this whole furlough stuff. Guys, I'm telling you, society has made just a boatload of prisoners, of slaves, and it's important that we come out of that. You know what I'm saying? It's important that we are aware of what it is. It's important that we become uncomfortable. You know what I mean? And it all goes back to, it goes back to square one of knowing who we are, knowing what we're capable of, but ultimately following our passion. Now, a lot of people, are in disbelief when you talk about, that thing that you love to do, that, that instrument you love to play, those books you love to talk about, that hobby you have, that hobby can pay for your way of life. There are a lot of people that are in disbelief in that. I have a brother that I talked to a few weeks ago, man. He's in the woodworking, he's in the gardening, and never in his life did he think this could be his way of life. I mean, you have people a few weeks ago that were on here that are playing instruments. Never in their life did they think that, me loving playing this instrument could be a way of life for me. We have to get out of the mindset that I have to go to a 9-to-5, or I have to be part of this organization, or I have to have a degree. I'm telling you, brothers, I'm telling you, sisters, this is all a game. It's all a gimmick. You know what I'm saying? So the way to come out of that is, one, realize what it is. And two, you can even go back to what the Bible says. The Bible said, I believe it's Matthew 18:3. It says, you have to become ye as little children. And all that says is we have to go back to square one. You know, before we stepped foot in the school, before we even knew anything about this world, there was a certain mentality about us. You know, there was no fear. There was the ability that I could do anything. Go back to the little boy that's on the beach building a sandcastle. Go to the little girl that's talking to an imaginary friend and talking about big dreams in the world. This is our natural state of mind. We have to understand that by default, we are able to do anything we want, guys. So it's just a matter of tapping into that, and working our way out of it. But we can't come out of this situation that we're in thinking the same. Because in my opinion, what we're dealing with right now is simply a reset. It's simply, when you think about the whole world shutting down over one situation, that's simply a hard start. That's simply the universe shutting the world down and say, you know what? If you do nothing else, just pause and look at the way we're operating. Look at the way this world moves. Call a duck a duck. You know what I'm saying? Again, we can't come out of this, the way we were, the way we went into it 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. So does anybody have any thoughts on maybe why the masses are not as eager to at least think outside the box? Or does anybody have any input?
Yeah, I do. I think that we have been programmed from such a young age, like the human being is basically like a computer, right? And we've been programmed from such a young age, so we need to figure out a strategy to deprogram ourselves, like you say, kind of revert back to a more pure state of consciousness. Now, I'm not exactly sure where I got this from. Maybe I got it from your channel, but there's this one Bible verse, Romans 12:2, which says, "And not be conformed to the age, but be transformed by the renewing of the mind." Now, to me, what that means is, don't follow the herd, go your own way, be innovative. And then the part where it says, be transformed by the renewing of the mind, to me, what that means is meditation. I think meditation is a key aspect in this, to reprogram or deprogram your mind, to meditate on a regular basis.
I agree, man. I agree. What was that? Romans what?
Romans 12:2. And I haven't really heard anybody talk about that one before, but it seems to refer to meditation.
And I think, for me personally, just meditation and visualization and most importantly, knowing who we are is the only way out. Just a self-realization is the only way out. But you first have to understand that you're in a system. You know what I'm saying? If you don't understand that this world is operating a certain way and we're trapped in it, then, I just don't think you're able to even come out of it. Anybody else got any input?
I think that we're, like the young man said, we are programmed. And it's really hard for us to unlearn everything we've learned, especially if we're left to do it by ourselves.
True.
Like for me, I'm the black sheep of my family. I'm the youngest one of my siblings. My siblings are 20 and 21 years older than me. So I kind of came up alone, like the only child, even though I had siblings. And my parents were older. And like I always tell people, I compare myself to like a Matilda in a way. My parents weren't mean at all. I had wonderful parents. They were just older. And by the time I came, they was tired. And I always felt different, And so I think all of us are here today because we all spiritual in some way. We all know something different. We all know that we hold something different. We all know something. So we try to feed off of one another and learn from one another. But I really think it's fear. Fear is what keeps a lot of people from moving forward. Because like me, I'm the only one in my family that's on the stuff I'm on. So when I talk, I don't talk to nobody because nobody understands what I'm talking about.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what it is. But like he said, we have to renew our minds. Meditation does help. I'm a meditation coach. And the only reason why I became one, the only reason why I became a meditation practitioner is because what it did for me personally, like it changed my life.
Mm.
And it was crazy because I never thought meditating would do that, but meditating led me to me being who I am today. It was a huge part of my evolution, you know, my growth. So I'm completely different from the person that I was before, but also I'm the same. So like we all grow, but we're also the same. Because if you want the truth about it, it was written. We were all placed here to be a solution to a problem. And all of us have a different path in life. And I think that we all find that out at different times, depending on who we are. And I happened to go through my spiritual awakening 5 years ago when I was 33 years old. And so, yeah.
Yeah, that's dope. You know what? You know, for me, the thing that changed my way of thinking is, I would have to say my son, right? Because when I think about when I was in my 20s, and when I think about when I turned 30, my mindset, you know, what I was in this, what I call a 401k mindset, right? Like my mindset was, you know what, I'm gonna jump in this workforce and I'm gonna be, you know, a solid employee. I'm gonna break my back, you know, until I'm 65 years old. And if I live to be that long, I'm gonna step out and I'm gonna live on this fat check that I've been saving my whole life. That is almost insane thinking. Now, and the thing that changed for me, right, is you know, going through my 20s, working hard for a company and getting laid off, right? You know, having my son, working hard for a company and getting laid off. And at some point I say, you know what? This is something that I never want my son to experience. You know, not saying that you know, I don't want my son to work for a good, solid company if he chooses to do that and even be in corporate America if he wants to. But he is not going to be a slave to the system. You know, I said, this is something he'll, you know, so even now talking to my son is 12 years old. He'll be 13 here in the middle of June. And I talk to him all the time. I say, you know what? I said, so what, you know, what are you going to do? You thinking about getting a job? What are you thinking about? Because what I don't want him to do is to just voluntarily jump in the system. Because in 2020, you don't have to. You know, when kids are turning 16 or 15, you know, we all couldn't wait. At least me, I couldn't wait to get a job. I couldn't wait. But I'm like, you know what? Like, you never even have to mention, you never even have to get in that mindset. Like you need to know who you are at 12 and 13, at least to the most of your ability. You need to know that even at 15, 16, you have the ability to create stuff and sell it, or you know, sell a service, start a YouTube channel. You can be your own man at 16 years old. And the thing is, I don't want you to, you know, I'm telling him, I don't want you to fall into that trap, because once you fall into it, again, hypnotic rhythm kicks in. You get your first job at 16. Next thing you know, you're 21, you're working for a better company. Next thing you know, you're 30, you know, and you're in corporate America. Next thing you know, you're 40, and you're thinking, what the hell just happened? Like all my dreams, all this stuff I was capable of, all these ideas I had, like I could have been doing this at 16 years old. So I think it goes back to what Mike was saying when I asked him a few weeks ago. You know, he said you have to think legacy. You have to think outside the box, and you have to become uncomfortable. You know, and he gave me this book, man. I had a long sit down with him, and he gave me this book by John Maxwell, which I'm familiar with John Maxwell, but not this book. And it's called Leadership 101. And he highlighted this one page or this one piece. He said, man, if you read this one part here and apply it, he says it's going to change everything, right? And what it says, the title is called Fighting Your Way Up. And it says, champions don't become champions in the ring. They are merely recognized. I'm sorry, it says they are merely recognized there. That's true. If you want to see someone develop into a champion, look at his daily routine. And what he told me after he highlighted that, he says, man, you know, everybody's always swinging for the fence. And he said, when you're swinging for the fence, you know, when you see the problem, you see the solution, and you're swinging for the fence, you can easily get lost in it, man. He said, man, just narrow your stuff down to every single day. Do what you need to do. He said, and whatever goal you set, he said, you're guaranteed to hit it, man. He said, you're guaranteed to hit it. So yeah, we have to become uncomfortable. We have to start thinking out of the box. You know, and even if we're going to operate and be a part of this society, which is cool, we have to have the mindset that, you know what, we aren't a slave to it. We aren't controlled by it. And if your employer can walk in and say, you know what, today is your last day, and your world is shambled, then you're a slave to society. You're a slave to society. Every man, every woman should at minimum put themselves in position, where they have other streams of income, where they have other avenues they can resort to. Because just being solely, relying on one company, guys, we have to see this thing different. We have to understand that it's just a modern day slavery. You know what I'm saying? So does anybody else have anything else?
I think part of the pitfall is, one aspect is overthinking. Like, if you, let's say you have a business idea, right? If you just sit there on your couch and you just think about it all day, nothing's going to happen, but you really just have to take action and get the work done. Just like just recently, I started my own landscaping business.
Nice.
It's nothing big. It's just like small time, but like I'm still young. I'm not that experienced, right? But it feels really good to have the freedom to like work when I want to and have my own jobs and charge and make a decent amount of money, So now that I got a taste of the good life, I want to continue being self-employed. I don't want to work for other people anymore.
You know what, man? That key word is freedom. I think once a person tastes that they'll always desire. I remember in 2000 was this 2 or 3? This is my first, business. I was finishing school. I was working oil and gas, man. So I was working several hours, going to school at night online, and help pay for school and help pay the bills. I started I was cutting grass, lawn service. I made some business cards, bought me a ride lawnmower for dirt cheap. And after working 12, 13 hours, man, I would come home, a little bit of daylight left, and I would get on that lawnmower and cut, I would cut State Farm, I would cut my neighbors, I would cut people across the street. And man, just to be able to get that income just based on my own muscle, there was no, and it wasn't a lot. I mean, it was enough to pay the water bill, light bill, a few tanks of gas, but it was just a sense of freedom that I said, man, I can't get this feeling with my job. Even though I hated cutting grass. It was like I could get this on my own muscle. Not even several months later, it was less than a year. Less than a year later, my company comes in and says, you know what? No heads up, today's your last job. Today's your last day. And here I am like, dang it. Like I've sweat blood for this company for, at that point, 7 years. And I said, in my mind, I was going to retire with that company. There was no doubt in my mind. I was going to walk a straight line like I was taught in elementary. I was going to do what I was supposed to do. And at 65, I was going to walk out, get the watch, get my pension or whatever it was going to give me, and call it good. And even though I was loyal, they said, nope. So instantly, I thought about that freedom I'd experienced. And instead of jumping right back into another situation, I said, you know what, I'm gonna start my own, man. That's when I started my first real business, man. I started a trucking company called Straight Paths Trucking. And man, I'm telling you, there was no greater feeling. There was no greater feeling than to be able to, pay my own bills and live and take care of my family on my own muscle, man, on my own mind, on my own creation. I'm telling you, once you experience that, there's nothing like it.
It's true.
So yeah, man.
Mind if I say something real quick?
Yeah, feel free, brother.
All right, so we speak about the freedom part, right? From my experience, I didn't experience like what freedom felt like until I actually understood the works of Neville Goddard and what he was saying, right? As to what God is, right? So I went from working a 9 to 5 call centers to where they tell you when you take your lunch break, your first break, when you're late from that back minute after, to a sales industry job where we can come in when we want to, put up as many numbers as we want, go home, and your check is $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a week, right? And that, I thought that was gonna make me feel free. Right? I ain't gonna front like I was making the 5,000 at that time, but that time I was just happy to make $1,000 a week and not have to check in and clock in and check with nobody to go to break or bathroom. So once I started doing that, I was like, okay, so I'm making more money and everything feel good, but you know, this ain't it. It has to be more, right? And so when you realize that you're looking for things on the outside to make you feel free, it'll never be, because there's always going to be more things, because when you don't have it, like you said, there's no thing. And then when you get it, it's something there. There's always more to add to it. So until I started realizing how all of this thing it works and how it goes, I didn't feel free until I realized who I was. Because a lot of people I even talk to, they could think about when they was 2, but nothing really before that, when they was a little baby just smiling out of nowhere, looking up at the ceiling, but you were still getting everything you wanted. Every time you thought about you was hungry, you make a sound, they give you everything you want as a baby. We was all there. We made it to this age. Why we don't remember, too many people remember back then, but you remember when you was 2, because you started being programmed on Dada and Mama and ABC and what color is that? We remember all the way back to the beginning of the program. Not everybody, but most of us, most people I talk to. So I think that freedom really comes from when you figure out who you are. Kind of like the young lady said. You can't really talk to many people about that because you sound crazy and they don't understand what you're talking about. So you got to hold this till a Sunday conversation with people like you guys. And for me personally, like I said, that's when I found out what freedom is. That I have control over all of this. So
I like that, bro. And I think what you said is something that's crucial. You know, when you talked about the things, I think the hardest part in this society, as far as finding freedom or going in that direction, is you know, or are the things, and not necessarily the things themselves, but the ego or the competition amongst other people. Because man, I'm telling you, I've been and I won't say a victim of it because it was me making a decision. For years, man, to me, I define freedom as having certain things, living certain places. And really all I was doing was putting myself in a prison within a prison. But like you said, bro, you know, finding self, you know, and being able to, you know, to draw a line in the sand between those things, but that's definitely freedom. I think freedom for most people it needs to be redefined nowadays. You know, really, what is freedom? Go ahead, Malachi.
Hey there. I've been watching The Recipe now every day for a while. And well, actually the first day I watched it was when I finally booked my plane ticket to nowhere, which was Texas. And I'm only sharing this because I'm just so excited right now, because like I'm at a place I'm in the middle like of somewhere I've never been, because when Soul said faith without works is dead, I was instantly when I was like, man, this idea that I need to just get away from my house and like book a plane ticket to somewhere, like, so okay, I'm all over the place because like my energy is like on a different plane right now. But basically the freedom is actually like here, like I feel that I'm free, like, and that is just already after like a week is already starting to manifest. And like I'm already like the vibrations, like I'm at an Airbnb with like some yogi people, like, and it's just like I'm in Denton, Texas right now. I literally,
you right down the road from me, man.
Okay, Soul, listen, I was literally sleeping behind a gas station, and I was walking, and I was sleeping under a tree, and then yeah, and and then I was walking in the middle of the night, and I just found this train that said Denton, Texas, and I had this feeling in me, And I was like, this is where like I'm gonna like things are gonna start. Like I'm in the middle of like of having like a breakthrough with manifestation and all of this. And it's like so funny that we're talking about freedom is because I started like right now, I'm just feeling this freedom and like things are literally starting to appear before my eyes and I don't, and it's crazy. And I was texting you and I was in Dallas just walking around and I had no idea where to go. I wasn't looking at my
Come on.
phone or anything. And
Hey,
I just,
so where you at now, man?
I'm in Denton.
Where you staying at?
I'm staying in an Airbnb.
Brother, you probably less than 15 minutes away from me, man. My home is your home, bro. You come stay over here you want to, man.
No way. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, I'm probably 15 minutes away from you, man. I got plenty of bedrooms here, bro. This is your home, man.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, it's just funny because I was like riding around. I'm just so excited, everybody. I don't know if you could tell. Because like I'm manifesting for the first time in my life a world that I want. I left college just this past, like I had the first inkling was to leave college, just like we're talking about now. Then I found self. I removed myself. Then I found Soul's videos and I started watching them. And then just things slowly started to progress. And now I just wanted to share that's like manifestation is a real thing and it's so exciting. So that's all.
It's real, bro. Dang, man. I'm proud of you for just making that leap. Just seeing with the world. That's a beautiful thing, brother. And I got your number, man. I'm gonna give you a call after this, man. But I'm right down the road from you. Literally minutes away, man. We gotta hook up, bro. Most definitely.
All right.
I'll give you a call.
All right.
That's a beautiful thing, bro. So Malachi, let me ask you this. What's your definition of freedom?
That's such a good question. Okay. Let me think for like a minute.
I'll ponder on it.
Okay. Off the top of my head, it's living and dwelling in my state of perfection. And that is the place that I want to dwell at all times. And for me, that is always dwelling in a state of joy, in a state of peace, in a state of wealth, in a state of prosperity, and always following my personal legend no matter what. And despite like originally facing fear and kind of powering through it, it's always following my personal legend. And my personal legend for me, I know is chasing joy and it's to inspire and be a leader of others. And also dwelling in that state of prosperity and wealth that I'm trying to create for myself and for humanity. Because at the end of the day, you know, I can do all I can to elevate my frequency, but like the end goal is definitely to elevate the world's frequency. And I think right now more than ever, I feel it's my duty as a man of this knowledge and a man for others that, you know, at the end of the day, it's for elevate the frequency of our whole planet, you know.
I agree,
so that's
man.
my perfection. That's my
you know, and I love that answer, man. And it's weird because I just got off the phone with a brother here about an hour and a half or so ago, and we were just talking about you know, when this is all said and done, like when we're all on our deathbeds, you know, when we're moments, maybe even days just away from passing on. It's like what are our thoughts gonna be? You know, and we can sit here and talk about, oh, you know, well, we accumulated all these things and we did all that, but you know, but the real question is gonna be is like, did I leave this world better than it was than when I came? Because really, at least in my mind, that's the ultimate of satisfaction. That's the ultimate of being fulfilled. You know, seeing a paycheck feels good, but when somebody says, you know what, like I watched that video you made, man, and it made me think different, or it made me a better person. Brother, that outweighs any check that could come in the mail. And it goes back to what you're saying, Malachi, man, just like just giving back to this world and making this world a better place. It's like until you get to that state, I think, man, you can't be fulfilled. And until you get to that state, man, you can't be free. Because you can be in that mindset and be in the worst of situations. I mean, here you are, brother, sitting there traveling the world, you know, living day for day in a B&B in Den freaking Texas. And you sit there, you know, with a grin on your face like a little kid, man. That says a lot, man. That says freedom. On the other hand, you got some people sitting, you know, in a mansion somewhere with a driveway full of cars and are contemplating suicide right now. You know what I'm saying? You know, freedom is just a matter of tapping into truth and living a life of passion, man. It's simple. It's simple as that, man. We can talk about, you know, and when we talk about manifestation, it's easy to get lost in accumulation of things. It's easy. There's a thin line between talking about manifestation and the next thing you know, now I want to get all these things. And I don't think it's wrong to get these things, but brother, it's a thin line, and if you're not careful, you'll lose yourself. And I've done it. Man. I've learned how to manifest, man, and just went on a spree and found myself at a dead end with a driveway full of cars and contemplating suicide. So, brother, I'm happy for you, man. I'm happy for you, brother. It sounds like you've tapped in something good, and just don't let nothing interrupt that, man. It's a good thing, brother. It's a good thing. Anybody got anything else?
Yo, Malachi, you talk about being free in your mind, and I really resonate with that because, like, a man or a person can be in prison, can be homeless, can be poor, whatever the situation may be. But if you're free in your mind, they can never take that away, you know? So that's the most important part. That seems like the first step to me.
Amen, brother. What's up with time? We're looking like on time. Yeah, we coming up on an hour. Anybody else anything you want to add before we close it up?
Man, I just want to say real quick, like, Malachi, I know you was on the last call. I think you said you was about like 20 or something like that, and you was in school. You was in college. But I'm 19, and I'm coming across all this information now, and my world has changed dramatically the past couple of weeks, because before it just seemed like, as I became more aware of myself, like, I'm a hard worker, like, and I'm an athlete, so they always preach, you know, work hard, do this. And it seemed like the harder I worked, the further the things I really wanted got away. Like it just, I was just moving in quicksand, and I'm like, I didn't understand. And then I just had like a couple weeks where everything just shut down. I wasn't doing nothing. I wasn't talking to nobody. I wasn't eating. I was just meditating. And I'm understanding now, like, damn, I was chasing the wrong things. Like, it's fulfillment, like peace, joy, love. Them things is what really matters. And it's like, I'm trying to stay in that state, but it's it's wavering. Like, it keeps going in and out. And I'm like trying to figure out what's keeping me attached to like these old ways of thinking and stuff. And it's just been a journey. And it's like, I really don't, I'm just in a state where I'm just trying to understand and learn. But what you saying, bro, like seeing you smiling and happy and manifesting all that, that's inspiring, like, for real. And that's up to you, man.
And Jalen, we are the leaders of our generation, man. And his soul is shitting on us millennials. You know, this is us, man. You know, it only takes two. It takes one, you know? So, bro, I'm so happy to hear that. And then love and peace, man.
All right.
You know, I'm glad to see y'all young brothers, man, in this mindset, because it's easy, you know, for guys my age, you know, 40 years old, to look back and say, man, these young guys are just, all they know is looking down on the cell phone and wearing skinny jeans, you know. But I'm telling you, y'all brothers are on point. Not even y'all brothers, man. I was talking to a young sister the other day. I mean, she was in her early 20s, and she was talking about stuff, man, about like these meals she cooks. She was talking about she knows how to sew, and I was like, man, like it's almost like things are resetting, like there's a gap, and then things are just starting back over again, man. So like you said, y'all are the future, man. You know, y'all are quarterback in this thing. You know, when I'm sitting there, you know, 70 years old, you know, if that's God's will, you know, y'all are going to be quarterback in this thing. I'm basing it, and I'm hoping that y'all's mindset are in the right place. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, I'm glad for y'all brothers, man.
Yo, I'd just like to make one more point. I just think that sometimes we have to cut people out of our lives, like even family members and old friends and whatnot, like, because if you want to go do something brave, right, there's always going to be people in your life who are trying to drag you down like crabs in a bucket, you know what I'm saying? And as painful as it may be, sometimes we just have to cut somebody off if that person is trying to drag us down to a lower level because we are trying to ascend up the levels to higher consciousness, and
Exactly. You definitely going to see that, and you know, and it goes back to what Juice was saying. You know, being the black sheep of the family. Sometimes your family is the first one that shows that hand. You know, I mean, me and my family right now are close. We're all, you know, pretty close. But when I think back to when I was 22, 23, when I first, you know, when I was heavily active in the church, and just the very moment I realized that, not saying what I was in was wrong, but the first time I realized that, you know what, there's tons more than what I'm hearing every Sunday. And so I need to step back and really look. And as soon as I stepped back, my family was like, no, like, what are you doing? You know, so sometimes family can be the first ones, but as soon as you start elevating, man, you know, like you say, crabs in a bucket, everybody's gonna be reaching for those ankles. And it's not that they don't want to see you elevate, it's they don't want to change themselves. And they know that if they're gonna be in your circle and you're different, they're gonna have to change. So really that's what it is, man. You know. But good stuff, man. Good stuff.
I just want to say before we leave, like, I really appreciate y'all, because it's like a breath of fresh air to be able to come together with like-minded people and talk about things like this. Because, like you said, you have to cut people off. I had to cut everybody off in my life. So there is no one. So, like, that's why I'm glad to, like, be able to reach. When you get on a certain vibration, though, you begin to attract people that's on the same vibration as you. You know, you start attracting people that have gone through a spiritual awakening. You start attracting people that meditate. You start attracting people that, you know, that take sea moss every day and black seed oil, and they know about, you know, affirmations and things of that nature. Like, this is great. And I think, what's your name, Malachi? I like your vibration. I like your vibration that you in. Stay in it. Stay in it. Don't let nobody take you out of it. And a lot of times, like, when we excel to the next level, people don't realize we have to do that alone. We have to do it alone. You can't take nobody with you. So you got to do stuff like you did and just jump on the train by yourself. You can't talk to nobody about it. You just got to do it. You know, I'm doing it. I'm moving across the country. I don't even know nobody to where I'm about to move to, but I'm doing it. You know, you just got to jump up and do it. I started 2 businesses. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm doing it, you know? So I'm like, shout out to all of y'all. I appreciate y'all. This is good for my soul. Like, it's needed. And you guys motivate me, and it's very inspirational to see what y'all doing. It's wonderful. Thank you.
You know, one thing I noticed, and this was me and this brother was talking about this earlier. Like, even when you don't know how things are going to plan out, and I can look back, you know, hindsight is 2020. Even when you say, you know what, I know my situation is jacked up. Like I know things aren't the way they should be, but I have no clue what I'm trying to do or what I need to be doing. It's almost like as soon as you just make that one step in any direction, then the universe will respond. It's almost like the universe or God or whatever you want to refer to that as, the source. It's almost like it's saying, like, I just want to see if you about that life, because everybody's talking about it. Every single person, you go to Instagram, you go to Facebook, everybody's talking about what they're going to do in 2020. But how many people jumping on the train? How many people opening business and moving across country? See, once you say, you know what, I'm about that life and I'm showing you, then the universe is like, okay, I got you now. Because everybody is talking about it, man. Everybody is talking about it.
Oh, shoot. I thought my phone was muted. I'm sorry. I thought I was muted.
But yeah, it's about that action, man. And if nothing else, man, if we're going to take anything away from this call, it's the fact that faith without works is dead. Because we can sit here and we can talk manifestation. We can sit here and talk the recipe to the sun go down and come back up. We can sit here talking about visualization. We can sit here talking about how, you know, how we were in our natural state as kids, that we can manage. We can talk all that stuff. If we're not willing to risk it all, if we're not willing to take an L if we're not willing to look crazy, because see, here I am, man. Here I am. I've been comfortable in corporate America for so long. And like I said on the last call, I said, damn, I said, it's time that I say, you know what? You know, the universe or God has been so good to me. Like, when am I going to respond back? So I said, you know what? I just said, you know what? In the X amount of days, I'm done. Regardless of what happens after that. And that's how we have to move. And I believe Malachi is an example of that, man. You know, jumping on a train and coming to the Lone Star State, man. But, you know, we just got to make power moves, man. It's about power. It's like either we believe or we don't. It's like there's no gray area. And to be honest, I'm tired of being around people in the gray area because it's keeping me there. I mean, I want to be around some people, man, that are some risk takers. Some people that say, you know what, here in 30, 40 days, I might be looking like a straight dummy. But I stand on this thing hard enough. It's like, if that's not your mindset, it's like, I don't even want to be around you no more, man. Cause it's like I'd rather take an L than to just be standard. I'd rather take an L in life than just to be a modern day slave, man. So that's what it is, man. Having said that, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. I appreciate y'all for logging on. I appreciate the input. And we out.